We are talking about just a little over 3 weeks before this deadline comes up, and that's the March 2nd deadline. What happens at that point? Are you going to see tariffs double? Are you going to see tariffs come off? How would you bet at this point?
Is that point in the semester when your finals are looming and you're starting to think maybe you should have been going to class? Right. There's an incredible amount that hasn't been done yet, not even in discussion. You still have, I think, some fundamental uncertainty about what we're looking at on March 2nd at 12:01 a.m. Some folks on the Chinese side seem to think that an okay outcome means all the existing tariffs, special tariffs, come off.
Right, how likely
whereas most folks at USTR are still feeling that, well, we keep the existing $260 some odd billion of tariff action in place,
but we
just don't ratchet it up.
Right.
Because China's not going to be able to deliver all the things that the president expects to get in a non-stopgap version of the deal in a day or a month or even 6 months. It's going to take 6 months, a year for the benefits to really show up.
That is a big gap in expectations between the two when you're talking about such a short period of time.
Huge.
What are the implications? What does that mean?
Well, the implication is that, it's easy to tell for each side to tell themselves what they want to hear that's politically expedient during the run-up. And when we come down to it, the negotiators, there's only so much they can do if their leaders aren't willing to make a handshake. President Trump has managed expectations up so much about what this deal is going to mean. If you start to ask the experts, what does a real deal actually have to deliver? It's going to require some grueling changes on China's part that one doesn't see a whole lot of evidence right now the Chinese are ready to make.
How do you view President Xi's hand in that we got Caixin PMI showed further weakening in China? President Xi just a couple of weeks ago at a meeting of top leaders warned about the political and social instability that is coming from a slowing economy.
Yeah.
How much pressure is there, and is just no further escalation to tariffs, could that actually be a win in China's view?
So it's good that we have like a week here during Chinese New Year to kind of sit back and ask some of those deeper questions. It's a philosophic question because there's instability for China if it doesn't reform also, right? So what's actually riskier for Xi Jinping at this point? He's got himself in a little bit of a trap. This was foreseen that if China didn't get more of its reform work done, the economy would start to drag and slow down. That's where China is right now. But unfortunately, one can't say, well, take another year to get your house in order and get ready for reform, because that's not going to work with the American calendar.
The Chinese have already put together a proposal which would basically address some of the U.S.'s concerns when it comes to foreign direct investment and intellectual property transfer. Is that not enough?
Well, I mean, what the Chinese are about to do is pass a new foreign direct investment law through their National People's Congress, which happens after March 2nd. So we won't be sure about that until after the deadline comes up. And those are going to liberalize a bunch of industries, but still leave dozens of sectors where there are joint venture requirements that an American company or European company can't operate in China owning its own business and hence its own intellectual property yet. That could all be pulled forward, and China could just say, you know what, we're going to stop screwing around with these 5-year phase outs and kind of cut half the difference here and just abolish all these joint venture requirements now and show that they're quite serious.
So what
That's
are you telling
really
companies that are thinking of doing business in China right now? Are you telling them just wait and see because the picture may look a lot better in 3 months?
Well, our view at Rhodium is that 2019 is not going to deliver stability for anybody in China. It's one way or the other. If they reform, if they don't reform, both pathways are going to be much more bumpy than 2018 was, than 2017.
So all of this is a sideshow. I mean, by the way, Neil Ferguson, I don't know if you read this column, says the U.S. and China may make a sweet deal, which is, I think, what you're even suggesting, but relations will keep souring, and then says, what should we call it? Should we call it a Cold War, basically? Is that where this is all headed? Irrespective of what you think is going to happen on the actual details of this particular trade issue.
Yeah. We're going to need new analogies. A Cold War is going to describe part of it, but not other parts of it, right? The Russians, the Soviets, were never anywhere close to the technology cutting edge. And as you heard in your previous spot with Kai-Fu, Chinese absolutely are. There's a lot of cutting edge stuff happening out of China today, but even more so happening out of Silicon Valley, Austin, Route 128 here in the United States. How much can China really do if there's a hard kind of coming apart of trust to one another, which is, you could have a sweet deal, quote unquote, and at the same time have souring relations, which means Politicians say we got done what we needed to get done.
We have Huawei going on. You've got Venezuela, right?
And that's not even in the negotiating framework.
Yeah.
That's not even open for discussion. Our Department of Justice is going to continue to get tougher and tougher on this technology stuff. Going to get harder and harder for Chinese nationals to study, work in the United States in high tech. And that stuff's not even open for discussion here. So we haven't really started having an adult conversation in Washington, for that matter, or Beijing, as to what the future is really going to mean.